Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of hopefully many videos brought to you by Tips for Languages. Let me begin by giving a little bit of information on what Tips for Languages is and really what the goals are going to be from these videos. So comments and feedback are extremely appreciative, so at any time during the video please leave a message in the comment section or send an email. I will be giving the email address at the end of the video, but for the time being it is going to be tipsforlanguages@gmail.com. Tips for Languages, or TFL, will attempt to offer tips and mini lessons that will hopefully benefit anyone across the world who is wanting to learn a second language, or maybe just simply wanting to brush up on their mother tongue, by looking at the language presented in a different way. The main focus of these series of videos will be on English and French, but definitely it would be interesting to bring in other languages to help people learn other languages such as Spanish, Portuguese. Mainly the Brazilian dialect is the one that I feel most confident with, Italian, and possibly Russian. That's kind of my task for the time being, is looking at Russian and really looking at all the declensions that Russian brings. I think it's extremely interesting. And ideally, it would be interesting really to give a comparison as well as a contrast within the Romance languages, because languages that belong to a family such as the Romance family share a lot of different characteristics, but at the same time, because they are distinct languages, they do have a lot of differences. So it would be interesting to compare and contrast what these similarities and what these differences are. And TFL is brought to you by two native North American English speakers, and at times when dealing with foreign languages, I will try to bring in some native speakers of those languages to make appearances in the videos. So Tips for Languages is brought to you by two college students. I am pursuing a master's in linguistics, and I'm also thinking of being certified in teaching English as a second or other language, and hopefully teaching somewhere in Europe. I think that would be extremely cool. And then my colleague is finishing his bachelor's in French studies. Language acquisition is all about interaction, so please leave comments in the comment section or send emails, because it would be great to be able to interact with those of you who are watching the video. So thank you very much for tuning into the video, and hopefully you enjoy this series and you'll be tuning into the other videos. So today's lesson will be broken up into the following sections. First, I will be explaining what a modal verb is and trying to give a general idea exactly what these modals are and what the functions of these verbs are, and by giving some examples alongside with that. There will be a very small grammar lesson in regards to these modal verbs and how they interact with other verbs in the sentence, and there will also be some sentences where you can see how the modal verb is used in context, because words honestly are meaningless unless they are presented in context. Like if I say the word do, not quite sure exactly which do I'm talking about. Am I talking about a little particle that we add with verbs, I do eat, or am I talking about the morning dew? Or am I talking about a due date? Interesting, isn't it? Basically I'm going to be explaining what a modal verb is, and at the end of the video there will be a little exercise, and then with contact information, and of course the answers. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy this free educational experience about modal verbs. Modal verbs are also known as modals, or when dealing with one, we'll simply call it a modal. And they are extremely characteristic of Germanic languages, and they do behave differently than Romance languages. And a modal is an auxiliary verb, that is to say it's a helping verb, and it is paired alongside another verb. And in English, modals are monosyllabic. So way back in elementary, we learned that verbs are action words, but these modals do not really give all that much action to a sentence. They are much more laid back, but these modals include several functions, such as likelihood, permission, ability, the ability to accomplish something, as well as obligation. Thinking of these terms, you might think that modals and the ways that we can characterize them is fairly abstract, and it's abstract to think of modals in such a way, but it is possible, and I will show you how, to arrange these modals along a line illustrating their functions. But before we can get into this visual representation of modals, it's crucial to see what are the modals that are found in the English language. And the modals that are found in English are can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, and would. Now, I'm not going to give a translation of these modals in different languages, but I just really want you to keep in mind that these characteristics of modals are often found in verbs in other languages. For example, in French and Spanish, the modals could and can be found in the verbs pouvoir for French, and in Spanish in the verb poder. And then in German, we can get the verb können. But you might be asking yourself, how can a verb distinguish between the two characteristics of a modal if they're really expressed in the same verb? It seems kind of far-fetched. Well, French is going to express the idea of could when it conjugates the verb in a different mood. For instance, if French wants to illustrate the idea of could, more than likely the verb will be conjugated in the conditional mood. But if we want to use the idea of may, French is going to conjugate the verb pouvoir in the present indicative tense. Now that we are aware of what exactly a modal verb is, it's really important to understand how other verbs, such as the main verb, should appear in the sentence. Modal verbs never appear by themselves unless they are answering a yes or no question. For example, can you dance? You can answer, yes, I can, because the idea is already understood that you can dance. That dance is the main verb. The idea is already understood that you can dance. But you'll never hear someone ask, can John the table? That does not make sense at all in English. So the main verb in the sentence will follow a modal and will never be conjugated. That is to say that it will take on the form of the first person singular in the present tense. For example, in the sentence, he can eat grapes, you will never ever hear someone say, he can eat grapes. So just a little bit of extra information, this asterisk is a symbol that's used in syntax, and it just means that the sentence is ungrammatical. So at any times in these videos, if you see an asterisk, it means that the sentence is ungrammatical. Alright, so now that we have seen how modals are represented when they are applied, now that we've seen what kind of modals exist in English, we can now look to see how they are presented when they're plotted on a line. So looking at this graph, we can see under likelihood, we can see the modals may, might, would, and under the ability, we can find can, could, will. Under permission, we find may, could, and can. And then under certainty, we only have one, which is will, and it indicates that the action is going to happen. And for duty, we get should and shall. So here are some examples of these modals used in context. So I've divided this table into two sections, two columns, likelihood and certainty, along with ability, permission, and duty. So looking at the first column, with the modal can, we have that can be done. Absolutely. And then moving along, we get could. I doubt it will happen today, but it could happen tomorrow. It may be a sunny day now, but the clouds are rolling in. I might be able to take that chick out to dinner and a movie. That woman must be in her late 50s. She does not look very young at all. And then there is nothing for shall for likelihood and certainty. But we move on. I have been waiting 20 minutes outside the restaurant for my girlfriend. She should be out any minute now. And then for will, it's a certainty, likelihood. I will marry my high school sweetheart. And then, would you travel to Brazil if you had 1 million Brazilian reais? And then under the ability, permission, and duty section, I can, meaning I have the ability to speak French better than you. I'm asking for permission, could I hold your hand? I'm asking for permission as well, may I drive your car to work? And then duty, we must study for our test tomorrow. As well as duty, I shall meet you there at 6. And then permission, or not so much permission, the ability, you should talk to me in Japanese. I am learning. or it's ability as well as duty. It's something that really someone is asking for you to do. It's kind of your duty, since you're able to do so, to kind of help the person out. So here's a little exercise that I'd like you guys to work on. So read the following sentences and complete the table that will follow. So you should read your notes before going to class. My little brother could swim when he was a kid, but now he is scared of getting his feet wet. I can speak 6 different languages, and Brazil is a very interesting country, so I might visit it next year. So here's the table that I want you to fill out. I'm just going to remain silent for just a few seconds, so you are definitely able to pause the video at this time if you want to work on the exercise, or just simply continue and just wait the next few seconds and the answers will appear. Alright, so now at this section, hopefully you finished your exercise, and now I'll be getting to a tip of the day. Hopefully the videos are going to provide some helpful tips for everyone. If you have a tip of your own, definitely please don't be shy, and please write in the comment section, and it could help anyone else out. Basically here it's all about trying to help everyone else out. So the tip of the day is, at the beginning, acquiring a language may seem like a very difficult task. But the one main thing is really to keep in mind that if we try to simplify this by focusing on different aspects at a time, it might seem daunting when you're looking at a language and you're looking at a text or something and it's completely new to you. Just basically what you learned already. If you in class are learning something specific, try to take a text in that target language and look for things that you learned that day in class. So in this case, we're talking about modals, so find a song in English or just look for in the newspaper or something and try to find modals. And then try to analyze what their function is in that sentence. And once you find a few modals and you analyze the function, it's going to become fairly easy for you, and looking at other modals in other texts is just going to be easy, a snap of the finger, and you're going to be able to definitely tell what this characteristic of the modal is, and definitely you're going to be an expert when it comes to modals. And so you can easily just look in a book or a newspaper for text, but songs generally are shorter and they're easier to work with. So contact information, if you'd like a PDF copy of the PowerPoint slides or a Word document, sometimes they're available. Just send an email or send a comment in the comment section, and we can definitely send you a PDF copy of the PowerPoint slide and maybe a Word document as well. Questions or comments are definitely encouraged, either below in the comment section or via email. Please subscribe and tell your friends, and the answers to the exercise will follow. So if you have any questions, tipsforlanguages@gmail.com. So thank you very much for watching, and tell all your friends about these language videos, and definitely don't forget to subscribe. The answer is right here.